Good Erev Shabbos, Rabbi Isai. This is Parshas Tisa, and this is the virtual Drasha because we could not possibly get through a Shabbos without a Drasha. I'd like to take a moment to mention the Mazel Tovs this very special week in the young Israel of Lawrence-Cedarhurst. I'd like to start off by wishing a very special Mazel Tov to Doctors Sharice and Jay Delitsky for becoming grandparents the first time on the birth of her first grandchild, a granddaughter to Sarah and Doug Delitsky. Be'ezras Hashem, she should grow up to bring you tremendous nachas and grow up l'Torah, u'lechuppah, u'lema'asim tovim. We also take a moment to wish a very special Mazel Tov to Judy and Dr. Yossi Simpson upon the very recent news today of a birth of their granddaughter to Dana and Tzvi. Be'ezras Hashem, again she should bring you tremendous nachas and bring, God willing, build a bayis ne'em b'Yisrael, a shame u'letiferes. I would also like to take a very special moment to talk about one of the heroes of this Shabbos, and the hero of this Shabbos is a young man by the name of Akiva Jacobowitz. Akiva Jacobowitz is actually our bar mitzvah boy this Shabbos. Akiva has eagerly anticipated this moment for the past 13 years and 1 day, because his bar mitzvah, his actual boy bayom, is this Friday, today, Erev Shabbos, Parshas Tisa, and tomorrow is going to be the day where he gets his first aliyah. I got to tell you, first of all, let's wish a mazel tov to the entire mishpacha, a mazel tov to our very special members, to Elisha and Oded, on this very special moment. What an accomplishment as parents. We welcome and we take a moment to wish mazel tov to the grandparents, to Michael and Jenya Jacobowitz, and to Chaim and Sherry Goldzel. We wish a special mazel tov to all the uncles and the aunts, to Ofer and Sherry Jacobowitz, to Eden and Ido, to Jeremy Malki Goldzel, Joey and Rita Goldzel, Eli and Bianca Alman, and also Sahara and Jamie, and the entire mishpacha who is joining us to be at part of this special simcha. I want to tell you something about Akiva. Before I get there, just to also wish a special mazel tov to the siblings, to Ariel, to Kayla, to Gavriel, and to Yehuda. Of course, it takes a family to raise a young man. I would like to just mention something very special about Akiva when we had the opportunity of learning this last week. When talking about what a bar mitzvah means to him, to this young man, to this person who's clearly be a ben Torah, a ben Aliyah, a person who cares about Torah and mitzvahs, one of the unique things that he said was that when I become bar mitzvah, it becomes more real. When I become bar mitzvah, all of these ideas that I've been practicing for and up till now suddenly become real. Yes, Akiva, you are a really real person. You will continue to become more and more real, where you understand your priorities, the hierarchy, the triage in life, and you understand, Be'ezras Hashem, where you will go, where you will grow. And you are the hero of this Shabbos. You're the hero of the Shabbos because your parents worked so hard to get here, and there was so much backwards and forwards. Will the Shabbos happen? What's it going to be with the shul till this very morning? And I have to tell you, Baruch Hashem, it was your parents, because your parents were so understanding all the way through. And we wish, Emetz Hashem, that we are able to celebrate with you, Akiva, and your parents for so many years to come, besimcha and be'achdus, all together as a community and as a nation. You know what's funny, as we start this parasha, there are so many familiar ideas that we hear. And as we get to Parshas Tisa, it is interesting that there is a phrase that we say every Friday night. In fact, it is part of the Shmoneh Esrei, which is going to be on Shabbos morning. It is going to be when we say the Kiddush on Shabbos morning, and it reads as follows. The end of the first Aliyah, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael es HaShabbos. Israel keeps the Shabbos. As we get towards the end of that, Hashem says, Be'ni uvein b'nei Yisrael. It is between me and Israel. Ois hi le'olam, it's this eternal sign. Ki sheishes yamim asah Hashem es hashamayim ve'es haaretz. For in 6 days Hashem created the heavens and the earth. Uvayom hashvi'i, and on the 7th day, shavas vayinofash. He rested. Now the word vayinofash is a strange word, which is why the Gemara in Beit Satav Tes Zion says that in fact it is an acronym for a certain phrase. And that phrase is Vai da'avda nefesh. Woe that I lost my soul. The Gemara says, from here you see the idea that a person has a nefesh yasema, a neshama yasera on Shabbos. That a person has an extra added spiritual dimension every Shabbos. How do we see that? From the word vayinofash. Vai da'avda nafsha. Woe that I just lost my soul, implying that on Shabbos there was an extra soul. Now that's all very fine. But in the end of the day, when do we say V'shamru b'nei Yisrael es Shabbos? When do we say that statement every Shabbos? On a Shabbos morning. If we're talking about losing the Neshama Yasera, when would be the most appropriate time to talk about losing the Neshama Yasera? Havdalah! At Havdalah we say, Oi, Vai da'avda nefesh. That's when I lost my nefesh, my neshama. Why, when Shabbos is full, front and center? Why at the beginning of the process do we talk about what we lost? Hang on! Don't get so excited. Enjoy Shabbos while it's here. Therefore, says the Kotzker Rebbe on that Gemara, we need to understand this. Sometimes, when we're on that little wheel, that guinea pig, that hamster wheel, and we're running and we're running and we're running, and we're going through the week, sometimes it is so frenetic, it is so unstopping, it's so relentless that we don't even realize how exhausted, how deficient we are and how we feel until that moment when we stop as we get to Shabbos. And at that moment that we arrive at Shabbos, we say as Shabbos comes in, Vai da'avda nefesh. Wow, what have I been missing? Look at the contrast to what I've been subsisting on, moving from that subsistence into that not just survival but thriving. That is when you recognize it. Sometimes it takes the beginning of Shabbos to realize that the last 6 days were in fact subsistence and not thriving. Sometimes only through lack do we appreciate what is. Sometimes only through relativity do we understand the objectivity of the beauty of something. And that's what the Gemara is telling us. You know, that we can learn a whole lot from this week. We can learn a tremendous amount about what community means when we see what it looks like when it's lacking. From time immemorial, the place where Jews would always direct their prayers. They would, any time there was anything that happened to the Jewish community, where would they turn? They would move to the shul. How in the world can it be that the place that we turn to at a time of trouble is the place that at the time of trouble we can't even turn to? But sometimes when we have that moment, it helps us understand what community is. If during these periods of times we're not shaking hands and hugging, then understand how important it is. How important, when understanding what is lacking, what builds community. We can't come near to each other. We need to have spacing, social spacing and separation during this time. Understand that God willing, when everyone is healthy and the community and the world is healthy again, understand that it's the opposite of spacing. When we have to stay at home in our own homes, under the restrictions and the very important safety guidelines, we understand that what makes community is not staying at home, is coming out to shul, is coming out to communal events, is making a difference. Sometimes, only through its lack do we appreciate just how important these functions are. It's on a Shabbos like this that we say, Vai da'avda nefesh. Through its lack, we're going to appreciate what a real Shabbos looks like. Through its lack, we're going to appreciate what our real community is, and sometimes we didn't even realize until it was lacking. The bracha should be, Akiva, be'ezras Hashem, as you grow, as you enter your bar mitzvah, God willing, you should always take this message with you, always to appreciate what community means. And God willing, at every milestone that we celebrate as a community and as individuals, we should always have Shabbos and community together. In the meantime, have a wonderful, have a meaningful, have an introspective and uplifting Shabbos.